Hi everyone, welcome to my new little vlog. So I've just draped a friend of mine. I'm making her a waistcoat. So I've just draped it. We call it moulage in French. It's a French word. So I've just moulage draped her. So I've got the basic template of her body now. So as you can see from the front and the back, I've actually made a block. So here's my block I've made from the actual draped pattern. So here's the front, here's the back. So it's in its basic shape, and then I can adjust it when it's on her. So I'm going to make the whole waistcoat up just in a cheap fabric. And you can see here, this is where the neckline is going to be. It's going to be a shaped, it's going to come right down here. But when I always have fittings, I always retain the original neckline, and then I actually draw it on my customer exactly how low we want the neckline to be. So this is what I'm going to do. Also, on the side seams, which I think is wrong, a lot of people will teach, or they'll shape the side seams in. I never do that. This is a master block. This will be a master block. You should never shape the side seams in. You can see it's totally straight. It's only when I've actually got the fittings, I'll take it in to how much the customer wants the shape, where she wants more shaped around the waist, more in at the hips, more let out the waist. That will be dictated by the body figuration. So I always keep it straight, and then on the fitting with the fabric, I'll pin it, and then I'll come back to my pattern, and I'll go accordingly to how the fit is on the mock-up, and then I'll transfer it onto the pattern. So I always do that. So on that note, everyone, I will see you on my next little vlog, and you'll see me fitting my friend. Hi all again. Right, I've just had a fitting. You can see one of the photographs. So now I've left the pins in, and then I mark either side where I've got to take it in. This is the centre back seam, and usually on the centre back seam your spine curves, so you have to follow the pattern. So this pattern is going to follow the shape of the spine. So on waistcoats and jackets, you'll see it will shape as it goes up into the spine area, right into the neck. It actually goes, it curves in. And that's what I did on my friend here. So I've marked it on both sides. So that'll be shaped now, this back. Because remember, this back here, it's totally straight. And now I'm going to, roughly from where the armhole comes down here, about halfway down there, the arm begins, I'm going to start to shape it. And it will be exactly how it's on here. So it'll be shaped back into the neckline here. Also, I'm going to move the darts a little bit over. Just a fraction, I'm going to just move them a little bit over, more from the centre back seam, more to the side seam here. So, you know, when you observe the fitting on the customer, you can start messing around with how things are going to be fitted and all that. And on the side seam, she wants it very fitted. So you can see here now, I've marked it on both sides. So it's going to come right into the waist, and come back out. It's going to come back out over below the hips. It's not going to be to the hips because it's quite a short waistcoat anyway. She's wearing high-waisted trousers, so we don't need to lengthen the waistcoat too much. So I'll get back to you when this is. So whatever I do on the mock-up, I have to adjust my pattern, because now, once everything's finalized and I've got to move the armhole down here. If I show you here, you can see I've had to reshape the armhole, and I've still got to come lower. So you've got to ask the customer or the client what they're going to be wearing underneath, and her blouse is quite baggy sleeves, so the armhole of the waistcoat's got to clear that bagginess of the sleeves, otherwise it's going to pull. It's going to be not very good. It's going to look nice. So this has got to be quite low, this armhole is. I will be making my friend lots of blouses soon, so they're going to be high fitted, and they're going to be very narrow sleeves, so they're going to virtually go right into the armpit, and you've got more movement in anyway when you have sleeves that are cut very high. So this is what I'll be doing on the blouses I'll make it. But for this waistcoat, I'm going to have a quite a low armhole on this waistcoat. Anyway, So whatever I do on this mock-up, I've got to transfer it onto here, and then this will be my master pattern, which I draped. Remember, I made a pattern, but I've still got to fine-tune this now, and that's it. Be ready to cut out, and we'll have another fitting with the waistcoat itself. So I'll see you very soon on my next vlog. Hi all again, welcome to my new little vlog. Right, here we have before us, you can see I moulinged, I draped my friend, and I made a pattern. You can see I had a mock-up and I've just adapted the pattern. I've recut the pattern a little bit, and once I check again, because now I'm going to have a fit, I'm going to cut this beautiful fabric out. You can see here, I'm not sure you can see this, this is wool, and 140s wool and cashmere, so this is really good quality fabric. So I'll be cutting this out now, as you'll see me what I do. And because there's enough for the back, I'm going to cut the back out in the same fabric as well, and it'll look nicer. So, and that's what I'm going to do now. As you can see, when I was explaining at the beginning, when I drape in people and when I make a mock-up, I actually cut it straight, and then during the fitting of the mock-up, you've seen I actually shaped it in. So you can actually see this now. This is actually shaped into how she wants it, and this is what you really should. I suggest to everyone, always cut a straight side seam, and it's during the fittings that's when you start to pin it and shape it that way, and then you transfer it to your pattern. I will transfer this pattern to pure cardboard next week, because she's going to have quite a few waistcoats and variations on design features as well. Shawl collars, lapels, probably double breasted. So I'm going to make this will be a master pattern now, and I'll make it into cardboard. So I'm going to cut this out now. So I'm just going to chalk around. Always have your chalk sharp, everyone. So I'm just going to chalk around now. I'm not going to bore you, so I'm just going to, I'll get back to you when I've actually chalked around. I'm going to show you my next thing, what I'm going to do. It's what we do in the tailoring world. Okay, I've just chalked around the front pattern here. So what we're going to do now is, you can see on the sides here, that's where the original sides are. I always leave an inlay, and we all do that in the bespoke world. We always leave an inlay, and I'll leave an inlay. This will be a permanent inlay. This is 1 inch, but I will reduce it after the fitting. I'll reduce it to about 3/4 of an inch. So don't forget, you've got 2 fronts. That'll be 3/4 of an inch, and also I will leave it on the back as well. So 3/4 of an inch. Usually in the bespoke world, the tailors will leave the inlay just on the back. But I don't like leaving inlays on the back, especially when you're doing linings, because usually waistcoats have got back linings, and the linings can mark. So when you have a fitting, you know, even at the beginning, tailors will use the original lining they're going to use, the proper lining, the real lining. And sometimes at the fitting, they may have to let the lining out or take it in or whatever they're going to do. And really, the lining can mark, so I never ever put a dummy lining in. Sorry. I never put a real lining, I always put a dummy lining in, whether it's cheap fabric or some cheap lining. But this, because I'm cutting the back out in the real fabric, I don't need to worry about putting a dummy lining in. So I will leave the inlay on the back as well. So I always leave, and don't forget, this is a high-end couture, bespoke, tailored garment I am making for someone. So if people gain weight, I just let it out, you can see. So this will actually have 3/4 of an inch, and don't forget there's 2 fronts. So there's 4 sides, don't forget, you've got 2 fronts and 2 backs, 2 sides. So each side will have 3/4 of an inch. And so that will total about, what, 3 inches? Yeah, so about 3 inches in total. So if my friend gains weight, I can let it out, and you should always do that regardless. And I teach this on my dressmaking courses. You always should leave inlays on the dresses as well. So what I'm going to do here at the top, I'm going to leave an inlay here, because even though we've had the drape done, it fits good, I'm still going to leave a 3/4 of an inch inlay here. This will be trimmed off after the fitting. Once I can correct everything's corrected at the fitting, I'm going to do. So always leave inlay here, and I'll always leave extra here on the front. I never cut it to there, I always leave it, and then I'll turn it in. And that's what I'm going to do. And I'll do the same for here as well. So I'm just going to just mark around the front edge here. And that will be cut off this extra here. And I'll be cutting off extra here at the bottom. And then I'm going to cut here as well. So I'm going to do that for you now, so you just see. and then that'll be turned up for the fitting, even though I know it's the good length. So I'm going to cut this out now, so you can see. So I've reduced it to 3/4 of an inch because I need to get this back on. So I've reduced it a little bit because I want to have a little inlay on the back as well. So I always do that for women. Usually the inlay will be left either on the back, which I don't really like, because on the back of waistcoats, of course, usually they're linings and they can mark when you have to let them out. So I always leave, a great Italian tailor showed me this method, or I always leave, especially on waistcoats, I always leave the inlay on the front side. So that's what I'm going to do. But for my friend, I'm going to leave a little inlay on the back as well. So that's what I'm going to do here. So I'm just going to trim this off now. So this inlay, see at the top. So once the shoulder will be trimmed off, once the balance, and I talk about balance on my courses, it's the way the length of the front and the back behave with each other. So once the balance, I know the balance is fine on her because I draped it and it's fine, I had a fitting, it's fine, but I still leave, because I don't know how this fabric's going to behave on her with the canvassing. So I always leave a little inlay on the shoulder, but once I'm happy with the balance, this will be trimmed off here to its original. That's what I'm going to do. And then I'm just going to trim around my armhole because it's got the seam allowance included anyway. And I've got my inlay, which I'm going to do now. I'm going to leave a little extra on the front because I'm going to fold all that front. I'm going to fold it in for the fitting at the fitting stage. That's what I'm going to do here. Just leave a little extra to play. You got enough to play with. It's always a cut. I always say to my students, always cut bigger. You can always trim things off, but you can never add things on. So that's what we should be doing. And my little inlay extra here, and I'm going to leave a little extra just in case, you know, she want, oh, I want it longer. So now, and this is expensive fabric, so I'm going to leave extra here. And then what I'm going to do now, I'm going to show you my next stage. I'm going to tailor tack all around. So that will denote where actually the edges are, and I'll be stitching to. So I'm going to do that now for you. So here's a little glimpse into how I cut my waistcoats, and I actually teach this on my course as well. So if anyone's interested, you know where to find me. So ciao for now. Right, I'm just making the waistcoat for a friend of mine. I'm sure you've seen some of my earlier vlogs about I draped what we call moulaged, made a mock-up, and then had a fitting with the real fabric. This is cashmere wool, as you can see. I've just turned it over. So I've put the canvas in now, put a little welt pocket there where a little handkerchief's going to go. Now this is the real way, this is the real bespoke waist. It's all fully canvassed. So this is probably the same way as what you'll hear Savaro will do as well. But I do a little bit differently because a great tailor, one of the best tailors around, better than Savaro in my opinion, he showed me this great way. Savaro will probably use some kind of linen tape on the edge, which can be quite thick. This is a cashmere wool, so it's very fine. It's a 140s, super fine fabric, so you've got to be careful when using an edge tape. So I cut some lining about 1 inch, and usually this will be cut on the bias, but because I want to kind of, this shape here can stretch because it's going onto the bias on the neck. This is a low neckline of the waistcoat, and then you've got your straight edge where the buttonhole and button's going to be. I want to control this area, so when you're doing, even on dresses, if you're doing a low neckline, try and stabilize your neckline. There's a video I did about stabilizing necklines and armholes. So I use this lining, and this is actually cut on a straight grain. So this will actually ensure that this area won't stretch. And you can see this canvas, I've cut it 2 seams. When we're actually making waistcoats, we only stitch 1/2 centimetre seam around the edge. And so it's not more than a 1/2 centimetre seam, 1/4 of an inch, whatever. So then you trim off 2 seams, which is probably roughly about a centimetre all the way around, because you don't want any bulk. When you turn in the facing over, when it's faced, this can be quite thick, so you don't want to have any thickness, so this canvas is trimmed away. So then I get this lining. So some tailors, especially some bespoke tailors, especially Savile Row, I think they use some kind of linen, but it can be quite thick. So I just cut some strips of lining, and so the strips of lining, this will be cut on the bias around the armhole. So anything that's curved, I'll cut round on the bias. So cut an inch strip lining, place it on the edge here, and then I'll just baste that in here. Now, because I'm not using my wooden table, it's very difficult because I've got cloth underneath here for me to actually catch that thread in. So what I do, I get my ruler or something in there, and then it's easier for me to actually stitch as I go along. So I just go virtually on the edge here, and you can use a big basin stitch, it's fine, it's only to hold it temporarily, because I'm going to do some cross stitches on here, like herringbone, big stitches, to catch the lining in place. But as I come down here, I'm going to be taut with this lining, so it's going to pull this neckline in slightly. Now sometimes I will actually stay stitch this by hand. I'll pull it in fractionally so it will gather the neckline in, so it won't gape, especially when someone's quite full busted, but this should be fine. So what we're going to do is, so I'm slightly taut with this piece of line in there. As I go down this line, it will draw the line in a fraction. 1 second about that, sorry. So I'll draw this in. So I'm actually pulling this little lining here. So it's going to pull in that neck fractionally. You can do it by hand before you put the lining in, but I'm just going to do it here. See, I'm slightly taut and then I'll just put that in there. Oops a daisy. It's a little bit difficult there. Get this ruler, because usually you'd have a wooden table and then it's easier for you to actually baste things down. So this is what I'm going to do. See, I'm slightly taut there with this lining, and then I'll just there. Just go around the edge here. I'm not on my big table, so it's a little bit difficult doing it on the here. So this is just to hold it in temporarily. Here. And usually you'd cut it now as you're going around the corner here. I'll trim this off, but I'm just going to snip that in just to save time. It doesn't really matter because I'm actually going to go around just only to the edge here. And then I'll just bring that round here, and then I'll carry on down here, and I'm going to go down all the way around here, and I'm going to cut out a piece of bias cut 1 inch lining, and I'm going to go around there. And that's the way I do things on pure bespoke waistcoats. So you can use some linen tape, some edge tape, but I do this method because you'll get a nice soft finish when the facing is turned over. I'm just finishing off the waistcoat now. As you can see here, I've still got all my basting stitches in to hold the canvas, but that'll all be coming off in a little while. So you can see here the inside's beautiful gold lining, and this is going to echo the gold buttons I'm going to put on. And we've got a nice gold buckle at the back, and we've got a nice little mini welt pocket on the other side. I'm just going to quickly show you. There we go. It's a mini little welt pocket there, and then a little gold handkerchief's going to be stuffed in there. So just want to talk about, I've just done hundreds and hundreds of little pick stitching. You can see it right on the edge, it's to stop the edges from rolling. So we do this traditionally in bespoke tailoring, all done by hand, usually with silk thread. And you go all around the edges, round the flaps. I'm doing the flaps next, all around the armholes. I've done it on the neck on this because this is fabric. Usually it's lining, but I've used fabrics. And you go around the armholes, go everywhere really. So, and they call it edge stitching, pick stitching, prick stitching, stab stitching. And I'm just going to quickly show you my needles come out, but if you just bear with me for a second. Right, here we go. So we use, it's like a back stitch really, and you do it right on the edge of the hems and on the edge of the armholes and the flaps, whatever. So traditionally, I did say on the earlier segments on one of my tailoring vlogs about how you do the stitching, but I'll just quickly recap this here. So stab stitching traditionally, and sometimes we'll still use it, especially on heavy fabrics, they'll just go through and come back up, and that's how they do it. And they'll go through and go down again and come back up, and that's stab stitching. It takes more time, and that's the stab stitching. Now most tailors will do like this kind of back stitching. What you won't catch, it will barely catch the other side, but it doesn't usually, you don't go through to the other side. But I'm going through on the other side because here you can see I've fully lined it right down to the hem. Usually I'll put a piece of facing in, I'll face it on the hem, but because this is very lightweight cashmere, superfine cashmere wool, I didn't have any of this fabric left, so I would have had to use a thicker fabric, and I was scared that the ridge would show on the other side. So I'm actually gonna prick stitch this all the way through, so it will catch the lining on the other side, so it will stop the lining from rolling back on itself here. So basically it's just basically a back stitch, and so I'm actually going through this one. So you just go through, and you never ever pull it tight because you don't want to cause any stress on the fabric. So I'll just keep going, and you can see, I'm not sure where you can see, the camera's showing this up, but there's little indentations here all along, and that's all the edge stitching. I've done that. So hopefully you've had a little glimpse into this, and I'll show you the finished product very shortly. So on that note, everyone, ciao for now. Right everyone, here's the waistcoat totally finished. Of course, the waistcoat's not for this dummy, it's from my friend, so it's been draped. We moulinged her, and we had the fittings in the mock-up, and then we made it up. So I've made a little handkerchief there to echo the gold lining, what's actually inside the waistcoat. You can see the gold lining there. Lovely jetted pockets with a flapping, and traditionally you always leave the bottom button undone. So there we have it. So there we have a nice waistcoat there, so that's good there. So this is cashmere wool, so it's looking really nice. And then we've just got a plain back here with a lovely gold buckle there. So that's all ready to be sent off to my friend now. She's in Italy at the moment, so I'm going to send it now to her. So there we have it everyone. So hopefully I teach this on my course, so if you're interested, I teach the real bespoke tailored way, so it's all hand stitched. A lot of it's hand stitched. So if you feel like you'd like to do pure bespoke tailoring, then let me know, call me, WhatsApp me, whatever you want to do. Come and see me at my shop, and I'll see you very soon. So ciao for now.